Alright, so everything's on. Alright, everyone. Sid Chowdhury, Trader Sid, back in with you guys. First time I did a live trading, kind of like a setup today in the morning. It's okay. I mean, something I figured I will do because I'm, not doing anything much except my setting up my, like I said, my business on the side, and I don't have a job, so why not? It's quarantine time. Just watch me trade, good and bad. But I just want to kind of go over a little bit of a um, here trading show. Yep, everything's connected. Okay. Just wanted to kind of make this quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time because it's like 10:45 Central. So basically, the main thing I want to kind of go over was the way that the market action happened today was kind of boring in the sense that it did go on trends, but the trend got cut, and and so every time the market started trending, it will reverse trend. And if you looked at it, that the market was trading in between a range most of the day, and that goes to show that there's quite a bit of congestion, and in between basically this level. Hold on, man, where's my chart levels? Did I? Okay, let's let's get my. There you go. Okay, and oh yeah, that's on my. Okay, so let's go ahead. So we're just gonna take a look at on. Oh yeah, this is it. So let's take a look at the 1 minute. If you look at right there, and a little bit of congested, but that's also because there's a lot of congestion here. The market basically it was in between this range, about 25.79 and 25.98 or so at the high, and it was kind of trading in between basically most of the day. And in fact, if you can also kind of isolate them at about 25, sorry 20, what is that? 2587 or so. So that's also another area where at first it was resistance up in the morning, then it acted as a support. At first it was support. There was a support, broke through, came back down again, and but that's basically the whole story of the day. Is the market basically was not really going anywhere, right? So in other words, is finding. Look at how many times it was at the 25.98 level. It's been there for a significant amount of time. So this tells you that. Wait a minute. Okay, great. So this tells you that. Yeah. So oh crap! I didn't even put my toss on. So okay, so there you go. So I have my thinkorswim on. So this is basically the levels we're talking about. Here I'm gonna put my OBS on the right hand side. Okay, so we're looking at the 2579 over here and the 2598. In between is 2587. So again, this is ballpark levels, ballpark zones. Essentially, if you take a look at it, the market's been kind of bouncing. Bouncing down, bouncing below the 2598 level. And so that's an important zone. The interesting part about that is that you can see that we had a crack up rally from the bottom about 2100, 2200 or so. On the E-mini, it went down to 2170, right? And so what happened is basically that formed and that was there because it was the over the weekend, and it was like basing around also on Monday night, also on E-mini. It was actually about the 2200 level. It held there. Early in the morning, it started to move up. So obviously we opened up higher, and then we made a bull run. But the thing is that right now, if you take a look at it, you had the first levels of resistance yesterday, which my prediction was that late in the day it might lose some momentum, which it did. But today, essentially, you're seeing that the market is finding hard to make any kind of adjustment. So in other words, now the crack up boom, the crack up upside price move happened really fast. That's but basically in the past, or so to speak, and now you're finding zones of resistance. Now, they have to be broken for the resistance to have any kind of relevance. The reason that this is looking to be a important level is also because if you take a look on the dailies, let me go to a fresh chart. You're looking at the dailies, right? And right, so you can see that at the end of the day, the market did go up and ended up in 2630 or so. But look at the volume is lower, so you have a lot of price, a lot of people coming in, but the volume is not petering out; it's just moving to the top. That's one thing to look out for. The other one is now you're seeing that the prices are almost at the same level as it was before the last leg of down market, the last big leg down below the 2700 or so. So this is important levels because there's two things will happen. Either and my bias is this is we're entering a recession. Now, like, this is what I've been saying since January, like all my old videos, which I'll upload them again because I took it on my old account, where I was saying that we're going to be entering a recession if they don't do anything about it. They didn't do anything about it about coronavirus. Obviously, we enter a recession. So what the thing now is that there's two possibilities. Well, I could be wrong. Market could go up. Well, in that case, buy some calls, right? Just buy some way out of the money calls, because if the market goes down this fast, this quick, generally speaking, the crack up boom, the crack up market rally is also really quick. So you can do that. Again, what I'm saying is not an advice, not recommendation, guidance, any of that. It's for entertainment, education, informational, whatever. But what happens is that you have especially this is like once in a lifetime type of a market, down market, right? A bear market, a price action that you're seeing is, people have, Warren Buffett hasn't seen that, and he said that himself. So the thing to look here is that if we are in a bear market, or in my opinion a recession, Goldman Sachs came up with 50% down of GDP. At first it was like 5%, then it was like, oh no, 15. I was like 25, now it's 50, right? Because it's like, you have to understand that you don't want people to panic. It's just a sliding scale of like letting you down slowly, right? The same thing with quarantine. They'll be like, oh, it'll be like, for 2 weeks. They'll be like, 1 month. Like, this is enough. 1 month will be fine. Then it's 2 months. Then by that time, you're used to it. Like, oh, we're going to be here for the next 6 months. Now, so that's the point I'm trying to make there is that jobless numbers came out. 3.3 million people got on the unemployment roll, right? So again, big, giant loss. And that effect of it will be there for a long time. Now, at some point, the market will price that in. I just don't think that is in there yet. So in other words, we'll form a bottom somewhere. And that bottom would be based off of the fact that people have already priced in the lack of growth, the lack of markets going up, and all that. So what happened for the market to move up? Well, financial help, monetary help, all this kind of stuff. Essentially, the big boys, corporate America got bailed out, which obviously means that, good news for them. The valuation goes up, market goes up. But you still have the underlying problem, and that doesn't go away. So still, we're living under the shadows of a pandemic, which was there since like January, but they didn't call it a pandemic. And now it's like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't know to rehash that shit. But the point being that, if you're in a downtrending market, and especially something that went down this fast, it's likely to come up again. Now, the problem with that is understanding when will come up. It's hard to, catch a falling knife. But before it finds a bottom, it will find that bottom. Generally speaking, people price, the market prices that in before the actual market good news starts to come in, because everyone's out of the market. If there's bloodbath to the end of times, then why be in the market, right? But the thing is, this we haven't seen a a strong retracement. We saw retracement early on, but that was not as strong as this retracement, which goes to show that this is probably the first true counter trend rally we have. Now, in a bear market, counter trend rally can last a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, usually. But the thing is that this market moved down so fast. The rally also happened really quickly in the middle of a week. But you can see that the volume is kind of coming off, right? You can see that now market's finding internally speaking, really it's like hitting that zone. It's almost like it's like forming a topping formation, or at least a temporary resistance. Now, the market did go up at the end of the market, but again, you have to discount the fact that for most of the day, it's been trying to move up, crash up, right? The things that as of the market yesterday, if you look back on the market, it made a higher high, comparatively speaking, to the early high in the day. And it was having a hard time. In this situation, market's been kind of moving up. It wasn't really high as much as hitting the same spot, had trouble all this time. Now, what could it possibly mean? Again, that's something that you take a step back and not be kind of zoned into the market. The reason I'm showing the intraday market, because it's something that's interesting in the sense that how is price action playing out. And the price action is basically saying that it's having a hard time moving up now, right? So, and coincidentally, it's also the same level as, if you look on the daily again, it was the same level as the last big giant breakdown in price. It's basically at the same level, which is about, it opened the day on the 12th, 2 weeks ago at 26, what was that, 30? It closed the day at 26.30, so it's almost to a T. Now, if it keeps on moving up, obviously it's an obvious level to be looked at. It's about 27.01, and that was the gap, and we'll fill the gap if the price keeps on moving on up. But look, the volume is kind of coming off. It's having a hard time now at this price level. Given the fact that it moved up, it has to stay up, and has to stay up with good volume, and that needs to be the chart needs to prove itself, right? So if we go back to the 1 minute, right there, right, the chart needs to prove itself. So in other words, it has to keep on moving up and stay there and be there. And what happens, generally speaking, it should kind of come back down a little bit and then make a new zone, make a new bottom. So if the price comes back and kind of tests this level here, that implies a strong upward market, or at least that implies that that level has been proven, so to speak, or the level. Did I save it? Okay, great, I saved it. Okay, yeah, that level over here is a strong level. That's a referential point. So with that said, just want to keep on harping on the same thing over and over again. It's the same old thing. One thing I realized doing streaming is that, man, it's hard to be on fucking talking about the market all day and shit, because it's like, how many things are really happening, right? So dollar, let's look at the dailies. All right, so the dollar went down a little bit, so the dollar is the thing to look at. If it kind of starts to trend up again, we have a problem. And if you look at it, the market's been going up fairly well. On the 12th, it was at Market was at 26.30. Right now, at the same spot, but dollar is still acting stronger. Um, that correlation is still holding fairly strong. So let's take a look here. Yeah, look, the market went up really high, but the dollar did not go down too much. Again, you have to look at the internal market. Most of that high at the end, the close at the end, was because of, hey, it could be it could be open market operations from the Fed, right? Which actually, obviously, part of it definitely is. Um, so, which, if you don't know, essentially, the Fed will provide liquidity by buying assets, right? So, in order to influence and stabilize the market, quote unquote, try to basically have the market not fall too fast. But again, if you look at the dollar, again, that didn't go down as much. That's if the dollar is not going down too much, that's bullish for the dollar, which would be bearish for the market. Let's look at some of the other relationships. You have the 2-year, again, it's kind of flattening out. People are not really moving out, even if the market's moving up. So again, kind of bearish signs, as you can see here. It's basically holding steady about that. What was that? 110 spot 000. I'll just 110 spot 110. Let's just ballpark it. I don't really care. Also, a few other things. I used to follow this volume indicator, basically it's just raw data, and I swear to God, if something happened, I'm not able to pull it up anymore. But anyway, you're seeing that advanced decline issues for the day was also something interesting, is because you look at some of the previous days, when it actually started, the market was, had higher amount of basically positions, stocks, or issues that were, higher. The difference between the ones that are going high and low were higher initially, because obviously there's more of an initial surge. The surge is coming off now. So at least, it's weaker, right? Than what it was 3 days ago. However, the market, today it still, did pretty okay. As far as the advanced decline, let's see how it moved up today. It stayed, it held. Actually, look, I didn't even look at the internal. That's a clear divergence. So the advanced decline issues were going low when the market was going up yesterday. What the fuck just happened then? I thought. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, never mind. It was never mind. The wicks were much big. Anyway, so yeah, I was thinking that basically there were today was a lot more difference, but didn't realize it was the wicks. This thing. It was. But if you go to intraday, you see how there's a clear divergence right here, right? Damn it. Right. Okay. The same thing yesterday. Right, but yes, the market was going up, going down. Today, the market was going up, but the divergence is to the downside, right? And yesterday, the advanced decline issue, difference was definitely moving on up. Whereas today, it moved up a lot during the day, but today it was not. So again, divergence. In other words, the divergence doesn't have to be proven out right away. What it does, it tells you that the underlying market conditions, the pricing conditions, is changing, or is not the same as it was before, right? Or at least it's at that condition, the environment that we're in, it's slowly, the characteristic is changing into something else or whatever, right? So, yeah, that's basically it. So in other words, what the gist of what I'm trying to say is that VIX I totally forgot VIX. Um, Jesus. So one thing though on the VIX, you could say that essentially the market's going up, but VIX, it's still hasn't come down too much, which is actually a point that people could say that people are still fearful. But you have to understand that at this point, there's so much fear in the market, it's not going to dissipate right away, right? People still they can't be complacent now. From the bullish side, you could say, well, market's going up. You see people are scared. That means there's not enough buyers, which is actually possible. That's actually a counterpoint that you could say. But at the same time, like my point is, the other thought process could be that if you think about it, if you have a high amount of fear, and the fear is still there, uh, you know, the fear market, basically, the VIX traders or the volatile traders are still pricing higher volatility in the market precisely because, well, we're still in a volatile market. So volatility, this will become an important indicator. Any kind of trading environment you find yourself in, what matters is that if that you have a overall environment inside of that, there's different indicators, and what matters is that, or not what matters, sometimes what some of the numbers might tell you more is if some of the data changes and changes the relationship it had with the underlying environment. So in other words, if we have a bear market, clearly it's going to be there's going to be a lot of volatility, right? So there's a lot of volatility premium. Now, this will be a definite, strong reason to be bullish if the volatility went down really low. I mean, sorry, if the market was not finding, as it was moving up, if it didn't find like a resistance level or whatever, right? So that is a point that bullish point you could make. I jumbled up my thought. Sorry. But if you look at some of the other developments, they haven't debated, right? So if the volatility was way off, it came back down, then that definitely is a bearish sign. Well, I mean that maybe not definitely, but it's definitely a complacent sign, right? So we have a bear market. Things, that we barely came off. People already are not afraid, right? So they're looking to get back in the market. But the whole point is that the volatility market is still pricing high volatility. They're expecting higher volatility in going into the next month or so. So therefore, you have to kind of figure out what does it mean for the market. So the market went up. Guess what? At this point, people are not so much complacent anymore. They're still fearful. And so, what happened, for example, today in America is leads the whole world in coronavirus cases, right? Now, how much of that is really true with the Chinese numbers that the Chinese are publishing? But that's why you might see a lot of back and forth as the market right now, because as you can see, like I said, like it's already congested. And this is E-mini. Man, look at all these levels that we were looking at early in the morning. So market opened up at basically where the market closed at. This is on E-mini, came back down, and it's like that zone again. It's that zone is becoming more important. So essentially, E-mini, it's between that 25.65 on the downside, 25.87 to the upside, and SPX that's about 25. What was that? 79 and 25.98. So looks like again, this is. In my humble opinion, still a bear market rally. Market was just overextended to the downside. You have good news coming in. The good news. The reason it was a boost is because Wall Street got bailed out. And but more importantly, we knew something was coming, but we didn't know exactly what was coming. So now we know. And this data will be discounted now, and so it's highly likely. For example, the market went up at the end of the market today, out of the blue, but it did not hold. Remember, 10 minutes. It's like you painting the tape almost, like, right? So you can make your head thinking who's might be doing that. Obviously, um, some of them obviously would be true blue people who think it's a bear. That they're trying to get Friday might be opening up higher, but the market's already kind of done a pretty good job of moving up. So at this point, we hit a resistance level. We have the news already in. Some of it is already priced in right now. You're seeing these levels being getting a lot of congestion. These price levels. So a lot of things are happening that, in my humble opinion, tells me that the market is at least this level. We are seeing a bear market rally, and it's getting weaker. And in fact, tomorrow, question is, how many people will be, happy to hold overnight, right, over the weekend? Because they've been doing a shit ton. And when Trump said that he's gonna do everything he can, looks like he really meant it, right? But now we lead the world in terms of infection rates for the coronavirus. Understand that it's not gonna go away. So that thing will still be there. All the fiscal changes and the monetary policies and all that definitely helps. But that can only last for some time, because are people are people gonna go back to jobs? How many businesses will be wiped out? How many disruption will be there by the time you get back? When do we even know we will get back? Well, they're gonna open up we are gonna be open for business. Then we're gonna be also open for what? More disease, more infection, right? So these things is uncharted territory, so we don't know, and chances are this is not gonna be something that's over with right away. Most people don't realize that whenever you have SARS, right? Coronavirus is a form of SARS. When we had SARS last time, essentially it happens in waves, because it will infect the first wave. There'll be a lot of people who'll be infected. Nobody knows. The spread around. Second wave comes in, on and on and on. It takes quite a year or two for it to kind of play out, right? And the same thing happened with Spanish flu. This is, which is what people talk about, back in like 100 years ago, what happened. And so this is merely the first wave, and we are already leading the market the world in terms of infection rates, right? So yes, this is good news, but you can see, technically speaking, market is now slowly petering out. The bull move is slowly losing momentum. Other, like I said, like things that kind of correlate with, let's say, like the dollar index. They haven't still gone down too much. Market went up real high, but dollar index is, it's pretty much stayed put. Well, not stayed put, but it didn't move as much as the market, right? Other markets, markets that are correlated with the market, it was a flight to quality. Things like bonds or dollar, that they haven't really moved too much. Look at 2 year. It's just, bam, it's more or less, even got more people in. So you can see that people still on edge. Look, 10 years, right? 10 years actually went up, right? So in other words, people still, they market might go up, but internals are breaking down. We looked at one of the few things that what I said was that advanced decline issues were one thing that is kind of bullish. But technically speaking, again, market is an important zone. It seems to be a resistance level at that 25.98 on SPX, right? Pretty much went over everything that kind of had my thought on, and we all know, well, what's next? What is the Fed gonna do now, right? More cuts, more this, more that. They all just said what they're gonna do. If they do 6 trillion next month, they might do 2 weeks from now they might do 12 trillion, right? But it also goes to show that they're doing. I mean, it's true they're doing everything they can. Now that will have, I suppose, a positive effect when this is all over, at least initially. But that's gonna create inflationary pressures. Then, at first, there will be kind of like rebalancing of quote unquote the economy, and people will go back to jobs or whatnot. A lot of, like I said, a lot of the jobs will be wiped out. A lot of the business will be wiped out. All the small caps, a lot of small business will be wiped out. Right? Who got bailed out? Walmart, this guy, that guy, corporates, and who's gonna take the place of those small businesses that will be taken out? Well, corporates. People are working from home. What does that mean? More automation, more computers taking over, right? Again, less jobs. So, there's things that are in, that the effect of this whole coronavirus thing is people don't know what to even expect. Whereas in that situation, if nobody knows what to expect, right? And that's the thing, is that all this time media never did say, "Oh, this is the nothing burger. Like, this is just a flu. Don't worry about it. Don't be racist. Don't call this Chinese virus." So, forget that word. Just don't. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just a flu. The problem with that is obviously now we know it's not, right? And the same people have no clue, because like look at in New York, those they don't have any protection gear for the health the personnel. In fact, the head of the nursing there died from coronavirus. Why? Because they're putting on fucking trash bags as protection gear, right? So this is how fucked up it is. And the same thing in the South, in New Orleans. The people stole. The people who work in the hospital, industry, not industry, like that field. Some of the people stole, like people who are not nurses, like people who just like, I don't know, janitors and shit. They stole N95 masks, gloves, all this kind of stuff, right? So this is essentially what the situation is, right? And things will likely to get even worse. Now we see people getting lined up at the hospitals. What better way not to spread this disease but going in line in the middle of fucking rain, when it's raining everywhere, get in line with 10,000 other people who are sick like you and fucking cough. Maybe 1% of the people who are getting in line is sick with you, are sick. But the guy who's sick is coughing on everyone, right? Now everyone's sick. So my point being that it is not over with at all. At some point, we will form a bottom. Usually that's what happens. Bear market bottoms form before the good news comes in, because at some point everybody gives up and says, fuck it, who cares? I'm out of the market, right? Because there's just unending bad news. And so what happens that it gets priced in. I just don't think that has happened yet. And this is totally normal environment. The totally normal bear market bounce. Market moves up real quick. Usually bounces happen for like I said, 2 to 3 weeks. This bounce happened. It almost took up 15%, right? So it's actually like 22. Okay, so about 440. So almost 20%, right? In less than a week, in 4 days. So it goes to show how quickly this has happened. Is it sustainable? Just like the move have happened really fast. When something moves up, if it moves too fast, it's not sustainable. Things move slower than upward than what goes down. But the point being that any kind of rally you have, if it's that quick, generally speaking, there's a lot of euphoria, right? Because people who are who are pricing in and the big players, quote unquote, they're dollar cost averaging in, not because it just went up really high. They're not bidding it up higher. That's just euphoric people buying it up. However, people are slowly inching in their positions, and that usually happens when it kind of comes down again. That because those kind of people, if it goes up too fast, too quickly, it run out of buyers, right? And So that's where I think the market's right now. Tomorrow, again, it's hard to predict this kind of market. I don't expect. Again, you can't trade off of that. It all depends when the market opens and all that. I mean, like I said, I think anytime you have a bear, this is a once in a lifetime bear market. Anytime you find a market that's moving down like this, you always go with the assumption that, well, at least, I mean, you can trade both sides, but the more the more safer route, let's say, is to align with the trend, as just like any most basic bitch understanding of how to trade. Is like go with the trend or some shit. So the long term trend, or not the long term trend, the main trend is down. So anytime you see a rally, I mean, ideally you want to sell it. The second you see some kind of weakness, you want to sell it, right? Um, and so yeah, I mean, I just think that at this point, it's facing some headwind at the 25.98. It broke up, but at the end of the day, it was like for 10 move up. It's some kind of a fucking, I don't know, open market operations. I'll chalk it up at that. Um, but with all the news coming in over the weekend, how many people will be willing to keep that position on? You might have again something like that end of the market. All of a sudden, out of the blue, prices being kind of kept up by these kinds of Fed moves. Maybe Bank of New York or something. That I mean, that's what their job is. Which is again not exactly. I'm not faulting them for that. I'm just saying that from a overall perspective, market then still is a weak market. So that said, I hope let's look to see what happens tomorrow. Again, yeah, I had this other, not an indicator, like a data, not like an indicator, like a technical analysis indicator, but like a data that will actually give me like a minute by minute rundown of volume for the indexes. But anyway, so I'll leave that be. Tomorrow, if I don't think the market is gonna go up too high. In fact, I think it will probably base around here, and I expect the market to maybe go down at the end of the day, maybe. But again, it just changes. You have to trade intraday. You got to be quick, and again, That's not a recommendation or anything like that. You have a higher number of people getting infected. They'll be in the news. More stress. More people angry. More basically more negative press. Going the weekend, how many people will keep that position on? Now, on the other hand, though, a lot of the margin sellouts are done, right? So a lot of margin sellouts that has happened in the last downtrend, I mean this whole time frame, they're done. So when we do see a downtrend now, the trends are not going to be most likely as big as it had happened already. The easy money's out, right? So now it's more of a grind. So it'll come back. I expect the market to kind of come back down and kind of test the lows again. And I do think it's a recession to probably break it again. But from now on, it probably is going to be just a, more of a rolling downward type of move. Like if you look back and what the hell? I thought I did the max. Never mind. There you go. Max D. Okay. So if you go back and look at 2000 whatever, right? Eight. So this is basically what you look after big downfall is like this, because it was a more gradual down it was moving down gradually, but then it just bottom came off in 2000, like late 2008. It came back down again. You see how it moved up again, but then it starts to slow down. So I do think we will see something like that where this is the first true real rebound that we have seen in the market. And but anyway, so I don't want to. Gotta go to bed, man. So that's something to think about, and hopefully I talk to you guys tomorrow. I do expect maybe the market to kind of come back down a little bit, maybe kind of be indecisive, because that level again overnight is proving to be really strong. If that level proves to be strong and and holds, um, then we might be taking a look at closing out the gap here at the top end, and I actually have some other levels that I took, and in my previous on my other account, well, in the real account, that's where I drew the lines. But anyway, tomorrow, interesting day. Right now, it's at a resistance level. Let's see what happens. 25.98. The market's back down to that level again. E-mini market, and that level proving to be really strong. And if it's really what the fuck? Yeah, there you go. So, and if it acts out the way I think I do, market moved up 20%, which is well, no, from the lows of 2170 or so, about 30%, right? So about no, sorry, 20%. So 20% move up in a week. So it's pretty strong, but it's kind of again facing some headwind now. What the hell's happening? This is oh, dang it! No wonder. Okay, there you go. So as you can see, the level is still holding strong. So anyway, and now it's actually going on the bottom end of that pivot level. So anyway, I will leave that be. I'll just let's see what happens. Again, my biases. This is again a bear market rally. This is normal. What happens in 2 to 3 weeks now? It just happened in less than a week. A 20% rally. It might have still go up some, but this usually, like I said, it's best off being with the trend. If you see a rally and it starts to lose steam and lose strength, what's a selling opportunity? You can go either side, but generally speaking, when the rally breaks and it starts to go down, you might get caught flat-footed by having a long, a position when the market finally broke down to the downside. Now, before it stops being a bear market, we're gonna have enough market, movement to realize it's not a bear market anymore, which is to say that prices will slowly, be congested. It will come down, test the low again, and be congested. That hasn't happened. It's just a kind of again crack up boom to the upside. So usually those are not sustainable. Usually that means prices have not found a bottom, have found a level of support, a level of congestion. So I'll let that be. And again, my name is Sid Chaudhry. Thank you for hanging out with me here. And do follow me on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. I should have added all those links. Yeah, I'm gonna start adding them. Like I said, I'm doing for the first time, right? So, anyway, guys, have a great night. Good luck with you guys trading tomorrow. I'll stream again tomorrow. Again, I'm trying to make that a habit because that way I can keep track of the market, like I said. Anyway, guys, have a great night, and if I don't see you guys, hope you have a great weekend and stay safe. Play games. Get on the computer. Watch me.